everybody, this is Alex from Melco, and today I'm going to show you how to make custom 3D puff patches using metallic thread. First, let's go over the materials that we'll use for this patch. I've got one layer of my twill and 2 layers of a sturdy cutaway. This will give us the stability that we need throughout sewing the design. On top of this, I will be using a metallic thread. This is Madeira's CR metallic. Nice and sturdy stuff. It will give us the pop and the shine that we want from our design. Next, we've got our puff foam. This is a super dense 3mm foam. This will rip away really cleanly from behind our letters once we're done. And after we sew the design on our twill, we'll cut it out and sew the border onto this Madeira Badge Master. This stuff will rip away nice and cleanly from the edges of the patch, giving us a nice finished look. And we'll be sewing all of that inside of our Mighty Hoop 5.5-inch square. Next, let's go over our design for the patch. In this first color block here, let me just hide these other ones real quick. I've got a walk stitch around the edges. This is just where I'll cut the patch out later. And then I've got a complex fill in our stippling stitch type. Stippling is usually used in the quilting world to tack your backing down to your top material, also kind of mat it down and give it a flatter finish. But I'm just using this here for a nice wavy, kind of trippy effect. Next, we've got our puff in this white color block here. I used our Old English font for this, but I've converted it to a wireframe just so I could edit certain parts of my design. I've also created some caps underneath certain elements to close any open ends. That'll tuck the foam underneath it, keep it from poking out. Also, under properties and styles, I've applied our puff alphabets style to everything. That automatically changes your density to some suggested settings that we have that work really well with puff. So in our next color block here, we've got just a locator stitch, another circular walk stitch. After I'm done sewing out these first 2 color blocks, I'm going to take the hoop off the machine, cut it out, and then sew this green color onto my Badge Master. That'll just tell me where to place the patch when I go back to sew it. And finally, in this last color block, we've got another walk stitch. This will just tack down the patch to the Badge Master. And then finally, a faux marrow border to give it some nice texture. It's a decorative walk type that can be found under the pattern tab. So I went ahead and loaded the design onto the machine. If we go to our color sequence here, I've added an applique stop after my background that will push the hoop out of the machine so I can then lay my foam down to sew the puff. On the puff, I did add a 3D puff style to it, which will automatically adjust the active feed settings while we're sewing. Then after the puff, I've put a pause, which will sew our locator stitch. That's where I'll place my patch once it's cut out. Then another pause, and then our tack down and our decorative border. Now we'll go ahead and exit out of our color sequence and get the hoop on the machine. Now we'll start the design. Now that the machine has stopped, I'll go ahead and throw my foam on there. I'm going to raise my presser foot all the way up. Then I'm going to slow my machine down to around 700 stitches per minute. I find that speed works great with the metallic thread, but your results may vary. And now we can hit start. Now that the patch is done, take this hoop off, and I'll load my Badge Master for my locator stitch. Go ahead and hit start and let that run. Now that the patch is done, I'll go ahead and clean this up. I'll start by ripping my foam off of here. And I'll try to pluck out any of these smaller pieces inside my design. A set of tweezers or one of the 3D Puff Pro tools from Madeira would help a lot with this. I would also take a heat gun to some of the edges to shrink any bits of foam that might be poking out. Okay. Now that it's pretty cleaned up, I will take some scissors cut my shape out. Just make sure it's pretty close to the edges. I've got a little bit of leeway with my, my border, so I don't need to be perfect, just need to be pretty close. So now that we've got that patch, I'll put a little bit of spray adhesive on this and then stick it inside of my locator stitch, go back to the machine. Now that our patch is on our badge master, I'll take this over to the machine and we'll sew our tack down stitch and our border. I just need to readjust my settings. I'm going to run it a little bit faster than I would for the puff. I'm going to go ahead and lower my presser foot back down. Now we can start it. Now that the border's done, we'll take our hoop off the machine. Here's the final product.